Hello everyone and welcome to Tech Quest. So today we'll be discussing about map function, which is an important topic in JavaScript. So recently I came across questions related to map functions during a front-end interview that I gave, and I thought it would be a great idea to discuss this function in detail with you. And also I'll share the interview questions that I was asked using the map functions. So let's just get started. And before I move on to the questions directly, I would love to explain what is map and we'll understand the power of map function. So basically, if you ever wish you could transform every element of an array effortlessly, then this tool is for you. So what we do, what basically the map function is like a magical wand that allows you to iterate over each element and apply the transformation that you want to apply on it. So imagine if we have an array of numbers and you just want to, double or make every element twice of what it was earlier. So instead of writing a lengthy loop, go for and the basic traditional for loop, we can just use the map function, which is the higher order function. So we can use the map element to double those elements. So let's go and first understand what was map. So this was the content of my last video. So let's just comment it out. We'll move the title. We'll change it to map func. And hello, let's discuss about map functions. Map functions. So let's just save it and let's just see. Nothing would be happening. Nothing would happen right now. We'll make a different script file as well. So for that src would be, let's say, map.js, because it would be dedicated to map only. So I'll just write map.js and here I'll say, hey, let's let's make use of map function in JavaScript. Alright, I'll save all and I'll just go and check if my console log is working fine or not. So yeah, we can see I just got the heading of local storage versus session storage as well, and I don't want that. Alright. So let me just see if it is all saved. We'll just close this. I'll close this JPG and let's just focus completely on map. So now we don't want to see anything here in our HTML. So let me just expand this section, and for more clarity, let's just zoom in. So now let's just discuss about what I was talking about. So I was saying that, for example, I have an array of nums which has, normal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want each element to get doubled. So one thing was to, use of traditional for loop and, make declare an array and then iterate over the nums array, right? And then just increment it by just change all the values by doing, for every element I is equal to 0, I till nums dot length, and for all element we'll do I into 2 and we'll just store that, right? This is what would be doing in the normal traditional loop. Now second thing is use of map function. Let's see how we can do this in single line. So I'll say const double nums. All right, and we'll be taking the original nums and I'll just use simply map, right? And what do we want? We want every num to get multiplied by 2. If I console log the double nums, let's check what we get in our console. So see, 1 got 2, and the first 2 became 4, 3 became 6. So everything got multiplied by 2 here. So this was the power of map. We just used the one single line, and you can see the magic it created. Right. So this is how map works. This is the beauty of map function, which takes an callback function. This is a callback function and nothing else that you need to define. And this is applied to each of the element. So this thing num dot 2, and it will be applied to every num that present inside the nums array. So this is applied to all. It performs a transformation and it returns the result that is stored in the double nums now. So why use the map function? So let's just understand why do we want to use. So you can see the first method was use of traditional loop, which was so lengthy. So first reason is that it enhances the readability. The map function simplifies your code, enhances your readability, clearly communicates your intention, right? So in this thing, I know like I want to transform each array this way. Like it's like giving an instruction to a robot and that follows your rules and returns the desired outcome. Don't you think? Like I have given the instruction, hey, take the num, and every num should be multiplied by 2 and just return me. And it has performed all your operations and returned it to the double nums. And now when you're printing the double nums, it just became it just gave you this thing, and that is what we wanted, right? We want to double all the nums here. So I think now you know what is the map function. Now we can move on to the interview questions that I was being asked. So first question was to create an array of object. Okay, I'll just comment it out. I don't want this. So my very first question was to, let me write it down for you as well. So create an array of objects, all right, and that will be representing the student's record, and map over that and increment the marks of each student by 30. So I did it using the map functions. There are many approaches, but yeah, use of map functions enhances your code. It makes your code more readable. So I did that with this approach. So let's just go, and I'll create students, and I'll give the name as Prerna, and I'll give her age, not the age, ID. Alright, 1, and marks would be, let's say, 25. Alright. Similarly, we'll create other objects. So, alright. Let's just change the name to ABC to 50. ABC is not a nice name. So I'll just put name as John Joy. Alright, ID is 3. Marks is 20. Alright, so these were the object, the array of object. Now what I want is, I can see the Prerna's marks is 25, John's marks is 15. I want to increment their marks by 30. So Prerna's marks would be 25 plus 30, that would be 55. John's marks would be 15 plus 30, that would be 45. And similarly, we want to do it for Joy. So what I can do is, as we know that the map function will return you, so I'll say updated marks or say updated students, because we'll be updating the every element. So I'll just iterate over the student. So let me just map, and I want for each student. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a callback thing, right? So you can see I made a callback function. So I want to return everything, because other details I don't want to change. Student. Okay, return every student details, and for marks do what? For student dot marks, whatever the marks was earlier, plus 30. Okay, And now if I console log this thing, let's see what result we got in our console. Uh, was that inside a string? Okay, I don't want to keep it inside a string. I want to see the output of updated students. So I got an array of three objects. First was Prerna with marks 55, and what we sent to it was marks 25. So it updated my marks with 30 by adding 30 to it. So Prerna's marks became 55, John's marks became 45, and Joy's earlier was 20, and now it became 50. So that's how we incremented every single mark so easily with the use of map function. So this was the very first question. Second question is also an easy question which can be done by other methods as well. But for this method also I did using the map function only. So second question was to convert the array, or say the nested array, to a single flat array. So convert the nested array to the single flat array. And for your information, I would like to tell that for this, the flattening thing, we have already a built-in function that says, which is flat. So for example, for your more understanding, I'll say input is kind of like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there is an array. Then again, there is an array. You can see there is array inside array, but I want the output to be seen without any array in it. So I'll say input dot flat, right, dot map, and I'll say number. So it just flattens the array. And let's say output is, let's just see what we get in our console. Number is not defined. I'm really sorry. We have to write the built-in number and not the number, because number is nothing. So we can see the input was 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6 inside an array, 9, 10 inside an array, but the output we got is a flattened array. But my question that I was given was without use of inbuilt functions. So I cannot go with this approach. Okay. So for your information, I just discussed this thing that there is something called flat, which flattens your array. So I was not about to use this thing in my code. So what I did was I created a function separately and used that. Okay. I named it flatten because I want to flatten my array, and map. Okay, which takes an input, the array. I'm really sorry, there's a slight mistake over here. Yeah, so it takes array, and what it does, we'll discuss it later on. But first, what was the output or input? I think I'll just copy it down. So we'll be passing this thing here, right? And for the output, we'll not be using the flat function. Instead, we'll say, call this function and pass the array over there. We call this function and pass the array. What is my array here? It's input. So it will pass here my array. Okay. And now my this thing got inside here. Now what I'll do is I'll keep a for loop over it, and I'll iterate the elements of this. So let's say for that item of ARR, and this is another shorter way of iterating over the elements. So I did this for of method to iterate over every single element of this array. So if I'll say if there is array present over here, okay, so this what is this array dot is array, right? So it's a function which determines you that whether the given thing, given value is an array or not. So it will return true if it is an array, and it will return false otherwise. So I'm checking if it is an array. All right. Then what we want to do is we'll just flatten it. So we'll create this flatten thing. What we are doing is we have to create a flatten function and do this thing inside it. So wait a second. First of all, we'll just make an const result which is blank initially. All right. And inside this, we will be creating a function flatten that will again take this ARR which we got here. All right. And then inside this, we'll be looping over all the single element. Let item of ARR. All right. And now let's do this thing that I discussed earlier. Array dot is array item. If it is an array, then what I want to do is flatten it. Flatten means it will again go to this function. It will again go to this function. All right. So we'll flatten the item. So it will flatten this item. How? We have to write the base case when we are using recursion over here. So if it is not flat, or if it is normal, then inside the result I want to push that item. So when it will loop over it, the result will get filled with all of the elements. And once it's filled, then we will return the result dot map number. Alright. Let us see if it is working or not. And then we'll see. I got a blank array, and let's just see why I got this blank array over here. And at the line number 75, I got this. Line number 71. Yeah. So line number 71, I got the blank array. So let's just go with our code quickly. What we did is we inserted an array over here. We said const output and flatten and map, and we just put the input over here. Then we went over here and we said that okay, we have to just call this function over here, right? We have to call the function again. Call the function again and again over here. So it's not even called for the very first time when it enters. So we have to call the flatten.array, and then it will be iterating over every element. So let's see if we got, oh yeah, we just got the output. So I hope I was able to make it clear to you. So what we did was inside the flatten map there is a function, but it's not being called. So then we have to call it first, then only it will get executed, right? So inside that array first came, it just initialize the result with an empty array, then it will go here, the direct here. It will say that flatten, okay, we have to call a function flatten and we'll pass the array over here. Then this will be getting executed, and this executes the way like which flattens this and map over all the element and gives us the corresponding output. So these were two questions that I was being asked over the front end question, and I hope I was able to make them clear to you. So this is how we did the second question of flattening the array, which we can do as using the flat functions as well. So I hope you found this session insightful and helpful in understanding the map function better. So don't forget to hit the like button if you liked my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.